We are here.
Yo.
Alright, I'm putting my headphones right now. Hello? Hello?
Hello, brother.
Hello. Hello, you're here.
I am.
You're
7:30.
here. 7:30.
7:32.
Perfect, man. Yeah, I know. It was waiting a little bit.
I didn't get a notification that you started it, so I don't know
Oh,
if I have to change my notification settings or something. But
yeah, I don't
yeah.
have any notifications on. What happens for me, it auto calls.
It calls you?
Yeah, it sets up the call and it automatically connects me to you.
Oh no, I have to dial you. I have to call you.
Really? That's
Hmm.
strange. Maybe it's
Like I,
because I created the show.
mm,
That's the only conclusion I can think
like
of.
I opened the app and then I saw your name and I pressed join live and then I called you.
Ah, that's crazy. That's crazy because when I started, it just allows you to like it calls the person directly.
Hmm. Oh well.
Ah, well,
How
I
have you been,
never
brother?
know. I'm good, man. I'm good. Everything's good, man. Good
That's
weekend and
good.
stuff.
Was family day good?
Yeah, family. I was busy, man. I was working.
No.
Side hustles.
Of
So that
course,
was
man.
fun.
I think side
There's
hustles are the only way to really make it in life these days.
right. It's a cheat code, man.
It's a cheat code.
For real,
Well, the thing
man.
is, side hustles eventually become main hustles, and then
Yes,
that next
exactly.
thing you know, you're your own boss, raking in more than people who get paid to do shit.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's why I emphasize the cheat code because that's what it's about. Just
Yeah,
like find ways out. There's always loopholes and everything, right? So
I wouldn't even say, I agree with you. There's loopholes in everything. The way I would view it is there's always opportunity everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I look at it's yeah. I see what you're saying. I look at it. I'm just looking at it differently. But the way I think is like opportunity. I see opportunity every day. I breathe. But in context of like this, I look at it like a loophole
okay,
because
explain.
to me it's like, well, you're trying to get to A to B, right? So it's kind of like a GPS. If you're trying to get down the road or say to Toronto from a few cities over, you want to find the fastest way to get there. So the GPS will help you navigate certain directions so you can cut corners or avoid traffic jams and accidents to get your destination faster. So it's kind of like the same to me. It's like the same thing about life. We're all trying to get to a destination, and there's ways you can get there a little faster. And I'm not saying it has to be. I'm not saying it's illegal or illegal. I'm just
Are you
saying
selling
it's.
drugs?
I might be. I might be. I might be.
I'm selling the drug of happiness, motherfucker. Come and buy it in bulk.
Exactly, man. So yeah, you know what I mean. I'm just saying it's just a. I just look at it as a loophole. But
The side hustle is a loophole?
I'm just saying, like, yeah, of course, yeah. To me, it is. It's a loophole to get to where I want to go.
I like that. Okay.
But you know what's interesting when we talk? Even you know what's great I like about you, bro? Like, it's because I don't think I even said this, and it's because you have a different perspective, and we can still come together and understand the perspectives. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Without complaining that one is right or the other, because we're saying the
Absolutely.
same. We're speaking the same language. You know what I mean? We're
I
speaking the
totally
same
understand.
language. Just the wording is different and the way you look at it. I'm
So
looking at it from above. You're looking at it from the side. It's the same tree.
It's got the, you know what's really cool is that the fact that I'm looking at it from the side, I might see the tree trunk and the branches,
Exactly.
and you looking at it from above, you see the leaves. And together, when we talk about it, we see the tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I love
Exactly.
about conversation.
Yeah, and it's crazier because if you close your eyes and you touch the so-called tree, how can you know it's a tree? You know what I mean? That's just another
Yeah.
level of thinking because it's just we're just talking about the sensation of things or the physical touch of an item or an experience. You know, so yeah, it's just a whole other world when you're breaking down into senses too.
I love how it takes us all like 2 to 5 minutes to arrive at some profound thoughts on a Monday night,
It's a, no, it's a Tuesday. Tuesday now.
Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy shit, it's a Tuesday, bro. Oh,
It's a
yeah.
Tuesday. Life has changed. Life is so crazy
Wow.
because it's a Tuesday during a pandemic.
Right, man. It feels like it's fucking July
Does it
of
feel?
20. Like
Does
how
it?
did I mean on the one hand, uh I feel like the pandemic has slowed things down, so it feels like it's 2030. And
Yeah,
on the other hand, I feel like I don't even know what day or month it is. I have to
that's how
look at
I
my
feel.
calendar.
That's how
Yeah.
I feel. I feel like it's dayless. I just feel dayless,
Daily.
man. Every day I'm like, huh, okay. Still cold out.
One
Yeah,
second.
man. Yeah, take your time, man.
So we talked about how when you and I talk, we
Different
each see
perspective.
a part of the tree. I see the
Mm-hmm.
trunk, you see the leaves. Together we talk it out, we see the tree. Let's try to see the tree of how to move like a king.
Mm-hmm.
What's your
Definitely.
perspective on moving like a king? What does that mean?
Mm. To me, the idea of moving like a king is there's different. I believe there's different levels to moving like a king because if you think of it, a king, where does he stay? Where does a king stay?
In
In
a
a
castle.
castle. In a castle, yeah. So in order to get to the castle, there's going to be barriers. There's going to be things set in stone in order to talk to the king. Not everyone can talk to the king. He's a busy guy. He has orders to make.
Hmm.
He has things to conduct. He has things to plan. He
He
has to
has
talk to his
time.
queen.
Not only that, but he has the authority to make time for himself to do nothing. That is
Exactly.
the, and he doesn't want to talk to you when he's doing nothing.
He doesn't want to talk to anyone. He doesn't want to talk to his own mother. But
Okay.
the point is, it's the king has this way of thinking and a way of living that he can choose to do on his own terms. And the way I break down what a king is to me, or moving like a king, the concept of that is within manhood, as a king, as boys grow into men, we're gonna have to learn through obligations and things within life that is gonna test us to make us better. And in order to talk to the king, for example, if the community, not community, but if actually, yeah, if the community or the people of the nation want to talk to the king, they have to go through barriers. They got to go through the guards. They got to go through, maybe possibly the Titan if if the king is feeling threatened or is a threatening position. But you got to talk to the guards, and you got to talk to the second in command, and then possibly the queen if it comes down to that. Then the king. So there's all these barriers that are set up in order to talk to the king. So when you have your time to focus on what you need to do in life, sometimes there's going to be a lot of people going to ask you a lot of questions, and a lot of people will want your time as you grow and develop. But at the same time, you gotta be selfish with your time so you can produce the best results with the time you have. That's what moving like king is to me.
Tell me that last part again. You have to be selfish with your time. So you can produce the best results with the time you have.
Yeah.
Tell me that last part again. You have to be selfish with your time. So you can produce the best results with the time you have. So tell me that last part again. You have to be selfish with your time. So you can produce the best results with the time you have.
Yeah. You have to be selfish with your time so you can use your time to produce something positive in the world, a positive output. Well, that can be if that's your business, if that's your, your the company you're working for, or fun projects on the side. Anything that you're putting your attention and time into, you have more time to do that
When you're being selfish with your time.
when you're
Yeah.
being selfish. Yeah.
Mm.
So what's moving like a king to you?
I think you put it very well. How the king is, and I was actually initially thinking down the same lines of, but I'll try to look at a different part of the tree here. So moving like a king from an emotional perspective, when I think of a king, I think of somebody who answers to no one, but at the same time answers to all. Because the king is given his power by his subjects, but he has the power to do things that others do not. If if nobody followed a king, he would be a crazy man, yelling about how the land he's on is his or whatever. You would just walk by him. But the king has a following. The king has a responsibility. And so I think moving like a king is understanding that wherever you go, you will have influence on a group of people that either rely on you in some way or you help in another, but ultimately they follow you in a way. And yeah, you can be selfish and just do things for yourself. But ultimately, for me, being selfish and doing things for yourself ends up happening because you want to have more to do things for your community, for your followers. I think about any kind of famous philanthropist or billionaire or successful businessman. They usually end up donating a lot of their money to some cause. They end up trying to give back. And I feel like that's what moving like a king is about, is working on yourself while understanding that you have a responsibility to some part of society that ends up following you or ends up relying on you.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's deep for sure. Because you're taking on the responsibilities of many.
Mm-hmm. And people claim uh, they want a lot of the people want, the saying, the fruits of their labor. People want the fruit, but they don't want the labor. But that's the problem, is that the king, people think the king has it easy, that he just sits on his ass, eats grapes, and life is good. He gets his dick sucked by 20 different mistresses. No, the king has literally the most stressful job in the kingdom. It all relies on him. The decisions he makes can kill hundreds, thousands, millions of people, or it can help them thrive. Uh, if you are a morally bankrupt king, then you don't care about the people that follow you, the people that rely on you. You damn well care about the people that have a target on you. Even within a kingdom, people like to think the only threat to a king is like another kingdom that's trying to take over. But kings have people like second and third in command who are trying to scheme their way into being king, you know? I think being a king is a lot more difficult than society makes it seem to be.
Mm. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And in retrospect, it's like in our life on a day-to-day basis, sometimes, there we've been around in general, we've been and experienced around being around the wrong people and how much time that will suck out of you when there isn't productive conversations happening or there's no acquaintance, you know what I mean? So it's interesting because we live that life where time is valuable. If it's not being produced in a in a great way that betters each other, then what are we doing? You know, and it's just interesting that you said that because I'm just looking at life in general and how much time is taken away from people in general.
What do you mean by that? Taken away from people? Oh, like from being 9 to 5?
No, not even 9 to 5. I'm just everyone in life has people that may bring them down to their level, who
Hmm.
may be pessimistic or negative or may not have the best interest in that person. And those are the people, kind of like the bloodsuckers or the vampires, that would essentially just take your time, energy, money away
Hmm.
from you producing whatever you need to produce in this world.
Right.
And that's how I'm kind of just looking at it after you said what you said. I was just kind of taking my perspective off of that, how time is so valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I think
know,
that I think what's sorry. Go ahead.
no, go.
Well, what's really cool about this concept of time is valuable, time is money, is that time is the only resource that we have not figured out how to buy. Like we some people buy time as in, they don't clean their house. So they'll
Hmm.
buy people to go and clean it for them. But I mean extending 24 hours of the day, going beyond the years of your life. We do not. We all have the same amount of uh, absolute time. Some people less than others because of whatever lifestyle they live or health they have. But I think the reason time is so valuable is because of that. Is literally people do not have a way to extend it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and you know what's great is because this is what we're going to provide for people that may need to extend their time and understand how much of their time is valuable, how much of their time is more precious than they think. And the reason is why people may take their time is because they don't value their own time.
Mm.
And it kind of transitions into this article I found a week ago, and I just wanted to go through a few of these little pieces here with you
Yeah.
because I want to talk about them, and they were quite interesting. So it was an article on Esquire. It's like a men's magazine.
Yeah.
20 things boys can do to become men. So I was reading this, and it captivated me. So number one, learn who you are as an individual.
Okay.
That's interesting because even as I grow, that takes time. And I can say in that progression of moving in the right direction as a man, as a king, and as a future husband, and all those roles we take on as men, I'm I'm realizing the individual is key. Knowing who you are. Maybe some people knew who they are, who were. Maybe some people knew who were. How do you say that? Maybe some people knew who they were they're
Mm.
young. But for
Mm.
me, I feel like I'm just getting to know who I am now.
Me too, man. Me too. I was literally just having this conversation with my girlfriend, my other friend, how I feel like the job I'm in, I thought I would do like is what I needed. I thought that this
Mm.
is who I was, but I am now beginning to realize that actually, no, there's another side of me that I've been neglecting.
Hmm.
That actually is where my strengths lie.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about this, and chime in because I'm sure it's going to bleed into your experiences too. Recently, I was thinking about what I like to do in general because here I am, 28, and I just feel like um, my day to day life is good, whatever. But my interest, I was thinking about when I was a kid, when we were all kids. we had so many interests. If not, we had a few, and we kind of dialed into that. You know, it took us away from the realities of, you know, the chaos as a kid, from, you know, the parents, or having the freedom for friends, or like being creative in whatever you're focusing on. But for me, when I was a kid, I realized how much like fighting changed me as a person. Fighting, mixed martial arts, and I realized, I was like, wow, like when I was young, that was a pivotal moment for me, because I realized mixed martial arts, it changed my perspective as a man, as a boy growing into a man. At the same time, it created this like camaraderie around young men, young boys at the time, that didn't know how to fight, and at the same time just needed to defend themselves. And I realized that culture where I grew up in, was something that I miss to this day.
Hmm.
And I'm actually going to be looking into getting to mixed martial arts very, very soon. I don't know when
What
the day
kind?
is. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai.
I know a guy who is a great jiu-jitsu instructor. He actually taught me a few classes. I don't know if he's still doing his thing, but he's in Toronto.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We'll connect off
Yeah.
the phone for sure. But that was what I'm saying. Like, it feels like I'm reconnecting back to my childhood, in order for me to be who I am as an individual. I realized a few things about me. It was, I love mixed martial arts,
Why
fighting.
is that?
It's because when I was in grade 8, I was the smallest in the whole school. Like, I guess for my grade,
You were a small
and
guy, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, my perspective of me, and my how people perceive me. I was a small guy at grade 8, and I didn't really take off until grade 10. So from there, I got picked on quite often, and I was an easy target, and I was pretty much prey. And I always felt, it didn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be picked on or bullied in a sense. And so that was kind of like my refuge, where I kind of grew into a new person and knew how to defend myself. And I stood up against bullies and defended myself when they often had wrestling moments in the overpass in our high school
Mm.
that I didn't want to get involved with. But since I got into mixed martial arts, that helped me spin my whole life around 360, not just from school, but obviously from childhood too. Before high school, there's a lot of things that I never really grew up around, where that could be like a maybe a father instilling that confidence in his son, or learning how to do things independently or think independently. Those things haven't really been taught, so I didn't really come in. I basically came into high school without a certain type of manhood. You know what I mean? Like a type of
Mhm.
stepping stone that I
Yeah,
know where I could put my foot on and stand
yeah.
up for myself. So I kind of had to figure that out later in life, and that's why I realized how much mixed martial arts changed my life. And still to this day, I want to get involved in it, because I just know where it can really take off internally for me.
I like that. It's been a huge like influence on you in your life.
Hmm. Yeah, that, and there's two other things. Is just that mixed martial arts, business, which and yeah, business, entrepreneurship, and self development. I think those three aspects are my interest in life in general.
Hmm.
Um,
Business, entrepreneurship, and self-development.
and self development.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty much it. Yeah. I want to ask you, for, was there ever something? I guess you're still tapping into it. So learning who you are as an individual. Where are you at with that, in a sense, or are you realizing some things that you always loved, or are you applying anything in your life now?
Uh, well, what I've come to realize is that I am I've always been somebody who can understand what somebody wants and either find that thing for them and sell it to them, convince them, or I can convince people to do what I want. But either way, I'm good at that skill set of communicating to people and ultimately getting them to do something. It doesn't always work, and of course I'm not like amazing at it, but it's one of my natural strengths that I guess was part of my personality growing up. And so now I'm at the point where I see that that is in fact valuable and it is natural. It doesn't feel like I'm swimming against the current when I'm doing that. But what I've come to realize is I really knew that about myself for years now, but I've been almost in denial or almost like I was running away from that because I
Mm,
felt like that wasn't enough or I didn't want to do that. Like a part of me didn't want to do that, even though I enjoyed doing it and it was what I was good at. And now that I've gone down this path that I'm in, now I'm really starting to realize, okay, I need to stop fighting the current and swim with it. Because if I swim with it, I'm going to go so much further, so much faster, and possibly just enjoy life in a way that I'm not enjoying it right now. So
mm.
now I'm trying to discover what kind of either jobs or businesses or anywhere, where can I use this skill of mine rather than continuing down this job that I have at the company that I have, that I'm at.
Yeah, yeah. And where was that initial experience where you realized I'm great at talking to people? When did that start? What was that experience?
I was in grade 4.
Okay.
Imagine 8-year-old me walking up the street to my school, playing in the playground. I'm a kid. And I realized that all the kids, including myself, were really interested in caterpillars for some reason. It was like a week where people were just finding caterpillars on the playground and showing like, oh, look, mine's bigger or mine's puffier, mine's cuter. People were collecting caterpillars, showing it off. It's really weird. You know, the bug, the little caterpillar bug that turns
Yeah,
into a
a
butterfly.
butterfly. Yeah.
Um, and so I thought, well, hey, I like this too. How about I actually start collecting them after school and then selling them? So that's what I did. I got a little caterpillar cage that I could
Mm,
keep them in. Put some leaves in there. Collected like 10 or something. The next day I went to school and I sold my first caterpillar for a toonie. And I was
nice.
ecstatic because that was the first time in my life where I made money independently. The
Wow.
first time where I was like, whoa, I don't need to beg my parents for anything. Like I don't need my parents. I'm an independent. And
Yeah.
and that same day I sold another caterpillar for $5. And back then, man, $5 was no fucking joke. That
Oh,
was a
it's huge.
that was a full Big Mac meal with the supersized fries and the large Coke. Like that was, as a
Yeah.
kid, that was all you needed. You needed $5,
That's all you need. $5.
right?
For
And
sure.
I got in trouble the following day because that kid who gave me the $5, his parents complained to the school about where did your $5 go? And this is where I felt like the education system really lets society down. Instead of them being like, wow, good on you for understanding that people wanted caterpillars and you just collected them and sold them like fair and square. They they made me the bad guy here, as if I like forced the guy to buy the caterpillar from me, and I
Yeah.
had to give back the $5.
Mm.
I'll never forget that, man. It was that experience was both like amazing and traumatizing because I learned, a big lesson in what I like to do, who I am, but also how society can just fuck you over like that when you
Mm.
are not the when you are the victim, essentially. And
Yeah.
that was a
Or
small thing, right? Like that
or
was
the
such a
or the
small
I'll say just added perspective, not victim, but the breadwinner.
the breadwinner, or just even when you're uh, thinking outside the box and you're successful. Yeah, breadwinner, I
Exactly.
guess that's what. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 So you got this slap on the wrist.
got the slap on the wrist, and that was it. Though that was for me. After that, I was selling. I was always selling. After the caterpillars, I picked up. Funny enough, that same year was when I started playing this game called RuneScape that I ended up playing for more than a decade,
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
And I played that shit a lot to the point where I became a breadwinner in that game. I was uh, most of the time the best. No, I was usually always the best kid in my grade at that game, and many times the best kid in like my school. I remember when I went to high school, because in grade 4 I was 8 years old. When I was in high school, grade 12, grade 8, when I was 12 or 13, that's when you're a kid, and there's all these people who are in their grade 10, 11, 12. They look like adults, right? They're huge compared to you.
Mm. Yeah.
And I remember just walking into the computer room at lunchtime, and there was a whole like 20 kids all playing RuneScape, all sitting down. And I walk in and I I play, I get to know these people, and a few days, maybe a couple weeks later, I realized that I am the breadwinner here at my school. Like I am making the most moves in this game, even though it's a virtual thing, but it again solidified that whatever I put my mind to, I do it, and I become generally the breadwinner. I
Yeah.
ended up,
It's that. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say it's that concept. It's nothing silly about it. Never, not at all. It's a concept. Whether that be a small business or a computer game, each whatever it is, money can be made. Things can be produced out of it. How old were you at the time? You said you're 13.
when I when when I
When you
started
like
the game, or
the time you walked into that room and you realized you're the breadwinner of RuneScape within
oh
your
man,
grade.
I was 12, 13, and I was in grade 8. So that's
Mm,
when I started my journey into buying and selling in the video game, which I
yeah,
made lots of money over the course of my life. I think I made over $1,000 just by playing this video game. And
yeah,
that doesn't seem like a lot, right? That's 1 week or 2 weeks at work, but playing a
mhm,
video game, making $1,000,
yeah.
that's that puts you in
It's
the
money.
1% of people who make money playing video games.
Yeah, of eighth graders. Yeah, man. So kind of in present time now, do you find yourself connecting to some aspect of your identity of who you were before and trying to reproduce that, or you're trying to navigate your way to that same feeling?
Sorry, repeat that question.
All right, is my mic bad? Is it like
No,
scataticy?
no,
Okay,
no, no, no.
okay,
I
no
just
problem.
I just zoned
I'll
out
say
for a
it.
second. I was looking at
I'll
my
say it.
dog.
All right, I'll say it again. Do you find yourself navigating in present time? Do you find yourself navigating to that moment when you were 13 and trying to recreate that feeling or that aura of having that freedom to sell a caterpillar or focus on a video game and make money for doing that? Do you find yourself doing that now or trying to reconnect that feeling?
I find myself yearning for that, wanting that, but I do not find that I am doing that. That is where I feel like if we're talking about the concept of yin and yang, where the yin is that feeling of selling or focusing and just doing well at that thing, I don't have that right now. That yin is
Yeah,
missing.
yeah,
And that's what
and
I'm currently now aware of it.
yeah,
Ask me this 2 weeks ago, I would not have been aware of this. But I'm now aware of it, and I'm now doing things to change my circumstance.
yeah. Like who knew? Who knows if you would be aware of it if we didn't have this conversation? And I think that's just the natural flow of life as we grow. Because I don't grow if you don't grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like we
yeah,
need each other to grow. We can't be in isolation and not know if we're even growing or not. But this is what's great about it, learning who you are as an individual on the first point of this article, because it allows us to have that knowledge of understanding. Oh, I like this. Oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember that feeling. And that's what we're essentially going towards as we move like a king, having that understanding of who we are as an individual. Because once we understand that deep down to the core of the identity on our fingertips of our fingerprint, then no one can really knock you off because you know yourself. And
that is
yeah,
that is that I like that. Yeah, what the concept of knowing yourself is so powerful because
yeah,
even if you know yourself and you know that uh, you're not striving for anything or ambitious or whatever, if you know that you just want a chill, a few change kind of life,
mm-hmm.
that's still, I think, the recipe for happiness because you'll know that this is what you need and you'll do it day in and day out and appreciate it.
Yeah,
Whereas,
exactly.
whereas, I think about this actually a lot, how I could have the identical habits and lifestyle and daily routine as millions of people, where I wake up, I log into my computer, I sign in, I answer emails, I do whatever, the office worker typically does, and then I log out at the end of the day. I eat dinner, I watch my TV show, I go for a walk. Like this is a standard routine or a standard set of things that millions and billions of people do. Yet millions of those people, or forget about millions, I might not feel satisfied in that routine, whereas somebody else is living, like just loving life because that's what they want, because they know themselves.
That's an interesting concept. Wow, wow, that's crazy because the person that loves to do that, whatever the job is, a 9 to 5, and they love what they're doing, truly down to the core, they love it. Then that just shows you they know themselves, just like you said, and that's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So number two is actually quite interesting. Stand up for yourself and your beliefs.
No,
Wow.
sorry. What are you reading? Number two?
The article. I'm just going over
Oh,
this article lightly.
yeah,
Just yeah, number two. It just says stand up for yourself and your beliefs.
yeah. Okay.
That's interesting. That's interesting because for me, it's interesting because standing up for myself was something that I never done when I was a kid. And as I got older from transitioning from mixed martial arts, that was the moment where I realized, yeah, I should stand up for myself and what I believe in. And it's crazy because I fast forward in my 20s, early 20s. I
Hmm.
remember I was doing some, what I was doing? I was doing some warehouse work. And I saw at the corner of my eye, I came in late on my 4 o'clock shift. It's like four to midnight, and I actually saw the accident. So in a warehouse, there's a bunch of guys, and it's kind of a box picking, called order picking. You go through the aisles, pick up certain
Hmm.
items, and you zip or whatever you want to say to the next aisle on this machine. So we're all on mobile machines where we operate it just by standing, and we use our hands to go forward or go backwards with this like long handle in a sense. It's kind of like the motive, the most. It's kind of like the I don't know. It's kind of like a lever. It's kind of like the wheel of a car, but it's a lever. You
Okay.
understand what I'm saying? So
I'm having a little trouble picturing it. Hold on.
what do you? So it's literally like a machine. It's like a forklift.
Yes.
So
Yes, I do.
it's like a standing forklift. It's like I'm stand. Say you're standing, and you have
Okay.
this big ass machine with the engine, and then the forklift's just in front of you. So it's
Okay.
kind of like a standing forklift where you stand on the machine. If you Google it, you'll see it. But you stand on the machine and you kind of operate it just by going forward with the big lever or pulling back to reverse.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm in the warehouse doing that, and sorry, just before I actually started the shift, I saw this gentleman actually stopping in the middle of the aisle. Ideally, you're not supposed to do that, as everyone's actually trying to get off the shifts. But this young buck, guy who was just new, just like me, came in and he couldn't stop his own machine, and he actually smashed
Oh.
into the older heads, the seniors'
Oh.
machine. No,
Okay.
nothing. No one's injured, so everyone's safe. But then, right off the bat, the older head goes off on them, on the younger cat, just yelling at him, just saying he's an idiot, he's this, he's that. And the guy said he was sorry, and his hands were up. The white flag was
Wow.
waving in the air, and
Wow.
I was literally approaching that off the bat. And since I saw everything, I knew the conversation, I knew what was happening.
Mhm.
I got into fight mode off the
Wow.
bat. I went straight into the confrontation of that guy yelling at the kid's face. I stood in front of the older guy, and he was yelling at me, but I just told him, I just told him off. I was like, dude, is this unnecessary? You don't need to talk to him like this. And keep in mind, there's like about 60 other men and
Wow.
boys around just watching, waiting for a
Wow.
fight or something. So this is happening, and he's yelling in my face, and he's saying, "What do you want to do about it?" He starts initiating a fight with me for defending him. So
Yeah.
he's just out of his mind in a sense because he's just trying to be aggressive now. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, listen, he didn't do anything. What he did was a mistake. Let it be. And then he wanted to see me outside and all this type of shit. But it was just at that point where what happened for me was I just want to highlight what we the notes here. Stand up for yourself and your beliefs. I hate bullies. I
Mm.
honestly hate bullies with a passion, and that's because how I got bullied as a kid, and that's a trigger for me when I see it in public. If I see a kid getting picked on, I'm in autopilot. I
Yeah.
go, I fight because it just puts me in that position where that was me, and it's kind of crazy, but it's kind of like within mixed martial arts as I'm diving more into it. Even with these fighters, these professional fighters, they all have this thing because these keep in mind these are the type of people that I essentially will be training around. These are people that got beat up in life or got picked on and said no, enough is enough. So I know how these fighters think because they don't want to be the victim anymore. So that's why a lot of these guys fight because they're tired of getting picked on. So a lot of these guys have this thing where I call it the it factor in UFC. The reason the guy's a champion is because he has the it factor. He is willing to die in that ring. Like it's crazy, but that's what it is.
You know what?
That's why,
You just reminded me of St. Pierre's podcast with Joe Rogan,
yeah,
where he talks about what brought him into mixed martial arts, and it was bullying. It was people bullying him, and
yeah,
how he
I,
ended up meeting the bully, his childhood bully. He ended up meeting him. It's
yeah.
a fascinating conversation.
I saw that podcast. I read
Mhm.
his book. I read his
Well,
book.
okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it's honestly it's amazing. It's an amazing journey. One of my favorite Canadian fighters. But kind of going back to highlighting the point here, stand up for yourself and your beliefs. I found out for me that's one of my core beliefs internally. I don't stand. I don't stand. I don't. stand for bullying, and I don't tolerate it if I see it. So
Good
it's
for you, man.
yeah, that's just it's just off of my life reflection, right? So it's not like I chose this out of a book. I like this. No, it was literally like my experience through life. And I want to ask you about it on the flip side from your own experience. Is there a moment in your life where you stood up for yourself and your beliefs? Not knowingly, but you did.
Oh yeah, man. I feel similar to you. I don't shy away from a confrontation. I run towards it. But for me, I think it's less about that it's automatic and more about I actually enjoy the the debate or the tension. I enjoy being in the middle of tension and then relieving that tension. So I've had, and on top of that, there is this definitely this aspect where not only do I not tolerate bullies, I don't tolerate when somebody speaks to me in a way that I feel is unwarranted. I don't care if it's bullying physically, mentally, whatever. If somebody just tells me to do something, uh, I will stand up for myself. Here's an example. I was working at Domino's when I was younger, pizza delivery driver. I get hired by this manager who's 22 years old, 16. He makes me sign a contract. The contract, as he was explaining it to me, was very simple. I was not an employee, and therefore I got paid less than minimum wage. I got $8 an hour, minimum wage of $10 an hour. And he told me that because of that, I am legally not allowed to do anything that an employee would do, like make pizzas, clean the floor, whatever. I am a delivery driver. All I do is I wait for the pizza, I deliver it, I use my own car. Those were the rules. Okay, perfect. Sign me up. I work, weeks go by, months go by. There's a little, you know, every other shift I'll get a question like, "Hey, can you help? We're really busy right now. Can you help make pizzas?" And I'm like, no. Like, I like being a team player and all, but no. Like that's you were specific with me that that's not what I'm supposed to do. And I'm getting paid literally less than minimum wage here. So I'm not gonna do that. Then there were other moments where I was like, fuck it, why not? Like, I'll help. But I was under no responsibility or obligation to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I get other, things here and there. Can you sweep the floor? Whatever. I like this job. I'm getting, you know, I like the team. I'll do something here and there. But I'm making it uh, known that this is not should not be an expectation. I am not doing these things regularly. Okay. Fast forward, months go by. We had our shifts on a paper calendar stapled to the wall. The day before my shift, I looked and I saw that I think I was going to start work at 12. So the next day comes, it's around 10 o'clock, 10:30. I'm hanging out with my girlfriend at the time, and it's a very sad day. It's the last day we're going to see each other for like months, right? So it's a sad day. We're trying to spend as much time as we can with each other. And I think, do I start at 12 or do I start later? Let me call to make sure. I call the office. The manager picks up. I tell him, hey, can you please check? I think I start at 12. He walks over to the calendar, comes back to the phone and says, yeah, you start at 12. Okay. I go there. I say bye to my girlfriend. I go to work. And just out of curiosity, I go to check the schedule. I see I'm supposed to start at 12:30. And
Oh,
so
oh,
initially I'm like, oh, that sucks. Whatever. Common mistake. That's a mistake. I don't care. right? It's not a big deal. Now, what would you do if you were that manager? I walk in 12 o'clock. I'm like, hey, I'm here. You'd probably be like, cool. Yeah, clock. Because you know that you made a mistake or whatever. This motherfucker tells me, hey, actually, you start at 12:30. I'm like, well, I'm here and you told me it was 12, so I'm just going to clock in. And as I walk to the machine to clock myself in, he starts yelling at me like, no, 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 no. You are not allowed to clock in. I'm like, what? He starts literally losing his shit at me and brings me to his office, which is not even an office. It's literally like where the fridge is in the back of the Domino's. So everybody can hear this guy going off. And he's sitting here just saying shit like, you don't want to be a member of the team. You never help make pizzas. You never sweep the floor. You always talk back to me. You blah, blah, blah. Like he's just fucking losing it. And I'm being calm and collected. Like, here are the facts. I called you. You told me 12. I came here. I'm starting, you know? Like,
I'm starting.
that's
Gold.
a fact.
That's
So,
gold.
so he's like, then the last thing he said to me, he says, if you don't want to be part of this team, if you don't want to be a team player, why don't you go find somewhere else to work? So I think I say, okay, yeah, no worries. I walk over, I clock my motherfucking self in. So I started at 12 that day. Okay. He didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. And we were working like an 8-hour shift, 12 to 8. At 8 o'clock, I clock out. I drive across town to another pizza store. I walk in with my fucking Domino's uniform on. And
You're a savage, bro. Let me cut you off right now. Where do you go, Papa John's?
I went to Megabyte Pizza.
With your Dominoes. You were pissed.
I walk in. There's a girl at the counter. I say, hey, are you guys hiring? She's like, yes, my manager's in the back. I look in the back, and this motherfucker's sitting on his ass watching a movie. He walks over, and he's just already, you can tell he's such a cool, like, good human. You know, he's a funny guy. He's positive.
Yeah.
He's older guy. He's in his 40s.
He's
20-year-old.
Okay.
Not some 20-year-old who thinks like he's the man because he's a fucking manager at a Domino's, right? This guy understood what being a manager at a pizza store meant, and he was humbled. Like he knew. Anyway, he sat me down, and he straight up like I told him, my current workplace, not the greatest. I'm looking for another place, but I know this town. I know all the, I know everything about this town. I can deliver pizza. Here's what he tells me. He says, look, here at Megabyte, we are a family. We are a family. You are going to get paid the same amount that the pizza chef gets paid, that all the other employees get paid, except for him. And when one of us is sick, we expect you to pick up the slack and help out. And when you're sick, we'll pick up the slack and help out. Like it was a true sense of we're a fucking team, right?
Mm.
He tells me, if you want... Oh, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're clear.
He says, if you want to work here, you're going to get paid minimum wage, bang, $2 more per hour. And you're going to keep tips as a delivery driver. And can you start tomorrow? Oh my God, I'm so ready for this, but I can't start tomorrow because I have a commitment, even though my Domino's boss is an ass, I'm not going to leave the rest of the team behind. I was like, let me give them some notice. He's like, okay, yeah, do your thing. Let me know when you can start. Here's my number. I drive back to Domino's. The manager is still there. And not only is he still there, but he had this like I I'll never forget it. I walk in the door, he's on the phone with the phone in his hand, the landline in his hand, while he's like uh on the computer screen typing away the order of what the person wants. And I look at him and he like puts the customer on hold and he puts the phone like on his shoulder so that the customer can't hear us. He's like, what? And I'm like, you told me to find another place? Well, I found it. And I quit. And
On the spot.
he's like, how much are they paying you? I'm like, what? And that was
Oh,
so satisfying because he literally gave me the perfect setup to be like, fuck you, bitch. They're paying me $2 an hour more than what you're paying me. So
mm.
I'm like, they're paying 10, 25. And this look of defeat on his face, I'll never forget it, man. I get hard just thinking about it sometimes.
Yeah, man. That's awesome, man. That's so crazy because at the same time you didn't know the whole time that that was like a belief of yours. You know, it's
Mhm.
you know what I mean. Like, wow, wow, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Stand up for yourself and your
And
beliefs.
and I gotta say, not only did it work out in that I got paid more, the job was more chill. I literally made like the people I worked with were amazing. Everything about that job was just so great. Even the pizza itself. We were, first of all, people don't know this. Domino's is like the most uh factory made shit you're ever gonna eat. Like they bring in the dough, they bring in the lettuce and every topping in bags. Like
Mm,
everything's already like made in some factory shipped to you. Whereas Megabyte, we had to actually go to the farmer's market in the morning and pick up like a fresh box of mushroom and green peppers. And we would cut that shit up that day and serve it that day. And the dough, I made that motherfucking dough myself in the back.
wow.
I knew what ingredients went into that flour, water, oil. Like it was just, I had the machine, I made the dough. Domino's, read the fucking nutrition label on the dough. There's like 30 ingredients.
Wow.
So
For dough?
it was just for dough, man,
That's
for dough.
crazy. That's crazy.
Domino's dough, yeah.
Bro, that experience is dope because it allowed you to understand like a core belief of yours. What core belief do you think you took out of that experience of treating, what is it?
Take stand up for yourself because rarely will anybody else do it for you. You know,
Uh,
there are going to be the Toulouse in the world that will automatically come to your side, but first of all, you know, that automatic reaction only really happens when it's something in public and when it's drastic. When it's
yeah,
like small things, other people won't step in, right? Because it's like
yeah.
inappropriate or just whatever, they don't care. So I
Mm.
felt like standing up for myself, it was on me to do it. And you know, I can tell you a quick story of where that actually changed my life from
Yeah.
a career perspective as well. Where when I was in university in my third year, I got, sorry, in my second year, I got a recruiter who came down and basically convinced me and my friend to go work at Scotiabank in Toronto. And that was the first year I went to Toronto to work through the summer. And
Mm.
he sold us this whole story of like, we're going to be in this new building. It's called the Digital Factory. Like, there's uh, everything's amazing, right? Like, it's innovative, it's competing with like the Googles and the Facebooks of the world, their office.
Mm.
So I went like, fuck yeah, because otherwise I don't want to work at a bank, right?
Yeah.
Uh, we get there, and actually, not even we get there. Like a week before we get our tickets to go to Toronto. We had already found our apartment downtown Toronto, paid way too much money for it. Like we had things ready, and we they tell us, "Oh, actually, you're not going to work in the downtown nice office. You guys are going to be in the fucking back office in Scarborough, where it's going to it took us an hour and 15 minutes one way to get to work. And
Wow.
first of all, I was like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Like you bait and switched me like this?" Uh, I and my friend who trusted me when I said, let's do this job together, is also getting fucking shafted. And unfortunately, he was a little more relaxed about it. Like, oh, okay, whatever. At least we have a good job. We're getting paid. I was like, no fucking way, man. Nah, I'm not tolerating this shit. Within the first week of being in the office in Scarborough, I call the recruiter and I'm like, listen, I'm not doing this. This is not gonna, like, I'm not lasting here. You promised us this, we got something else. Basically, fix the situation because this is not okay. So he gets off the phone. He's like, I'll see what I can do. Another week goes by, and the manager of our manager, who we never saw until that day, came to the office. And you know what we find out later is that we never saw him until that day because he was working in the new fucking office downtown. But they stuck us in the shitty
Wow.
old office an hour or something away, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, he takes us to lunch and he's like, I heard you guys are not happy. And I explained to him, like, well, this is what happened. This is what we were promised. And, we got an apartment downtown. We're paying this. Like, this was not, we weren't told that we were going to do this shit. And he said, I understand. Thankfully, he was he was an actual good person and said, I'll move you guys to the other office, but you may not have work to do for a little bit while we find a team that you can help on because they
Mm.
weren't expecting us there. So I fought and I got us out of that terrible situation, got us back to the new office. And honestly, being there, like, I don't want to spend too much time on that story, but like so many opportunities came from being in that new office downtown because
Yeah.
that's where all the action was. That's where all the exciting things were happening.
Hmm.
And
Deals
so,
being made.
exactly. So that's where, for me, sticking up for myself is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Every time I've done it, sometimes I've done it, it's like it doesn't work out, but nah, it's worth the risk.
Yeah. It definitely worth the risk. And it's crazy because that's what it leads up to. It accumulates to the big rewards. Like excuse me, all these small things we do in life, it always leads up to a bigger reward or a bigger picture of a bigger meaning. And it's kind of interesting. Let me just transition into this, like, two more points here because these are actually some great points here, and it's quite interesting to see it. But one said it was pretty much about being minding your manners, being polite in public or with people or people you don't know. That is actually quite interesting because for me, it was nothing I did out of fear or jealousy or any other type of feeling. It was just more of a mutual respect for another human being. And and as you said, what you said before about having standing up for yourself, having these small things that are accumulated throughout life and seeing these bigger rewards always lead to a better outcome. And I noticed that with manners as well. I noticed that because I always been a polite as a kid. Maybe it depends. I just grew into a polite person as a kid, just trying to, just live life. But as I
Mhm.
grew older into my adulthood, I became a lot more conscious about my manners around people and being more aware of my space and how to conduct myself in the environments. And I noticed more benefits when I was more when I was pretty much like manner conscious. Let's just say that. And people loved it. You know, people love those little things where you ask about, you ask about their dog or their cat or the grandmother that's in the hospital. Those things spark an interest in people because it shows you care and helping someone out, even if you don't have to. I helped someone out. I was driving one of my friends when I was trying to get into tech at the time. I was driving one of my friends, I think back home or something. And what happened was there was a blind person crossing a road, and she didn't know. Like I could tell she couldn't really figure out if she was on the road or not, even though she had her stick. Maybe she knew she was on the road, or maybe she was waiting. I can't say that about her, but she was there for a while as I was going up to the four-way. And there was no other cars around. It was just me and him in the car. And this was like Saturday morning, 9 a.m., maybe 10. And she didn't budge because she was using her senses to figure out if there's any cars coming by, or is anything coming up. She was just checking the environment without seeing. And so what she started doing as she started sensing the ground and the difference of the step, the difference of the curb, I got out my car and I walked over to her directly, not from behind, because you don't want that. You don't ever want someone coming from behind. You just don't. But from a side, and I said to her, I was like, "Hey, I just noticed you not needed help, but I just said, hey, I just want to help you get across the road if you don't mind." And she said, "Yeah, that'd be great." So she grabbed my arm and we walked together across the street, and that was pretty much it. She was going about her day, and I just drove off. But the manners is such a simple thing, but it's also, I think it's overlooked, and there's so much more benefits within small manners, because it's not something I did out of personal gain. I was doing it for humanity, So,
Yeah.
and when you develop those manners, and as you accumulate those habits over time, people recognize it. I'm not saying it's something you need to be recognized for, but people do recognize it, and it will put you in better positions.
I do agree.
It's coming from a good place, yeah.
Even if it's, I agree. If it's coming from a good place, that's much better. But even if it's not, like, even if you're strategic and I should be kind to people because I'll get kindness back. Like, even that is better than not being kind, right? Like being selfish.
Yeah, I like that.
In I want to help people, but I expect to be helped back. You know how people have that saying of like, you should help people unconditionally with no expectation? Sure. But helping people with expectation is still better than not helping people. So help people. And and if you don't get something back.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But you helped.
Exactly.
That's a great point. Wow. That's actually a great point. I like that. Wow. Yeah. Minding your manners, man. And that's 101, man. Especially when it comes down to meeting new members of the family or spouses, relatives. There's always those times you gotta be on your P's and your P's and Q's. You just gotta be on par with your manners and knowing what to say and what not to say at certain times. So
yeah.
minding your manners.
Minding your manners. I like that. What's the fourth?
I'm just flipping through them. This one was actually quite interesting. Choose your friends for the right reasons.
I can see that. Yeah.
That's interesting. Choosing your friends for the right reasons. Because in life, we obviously grow up. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna let you go off.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, because in life, as we grow, obviously we have a certain group of friends we naturally gravitate towards, and then over time it kind of refines as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead,
Man,
Ben.
it's
Yeah.
wild to, like, when you said that, I just got hit with the gravity of the situation that I have known you for more than 10 years, dude. For
Yeah.
like that, I've known you for such a huge part of my life. I think you're one of the oldest friends I have. And it is pretty incredible to think about the concept of friendship and getting your friends for the right reasons. I think when high school, people become friends with people just because of proximity, right? They're around each other. And then it becomes, some people will become friends with others to become popular or whatever. And those I could see are like maybe not the right reasons. But in this day and age, now it's almost like first of all, nobody has time to really develop new friendships with people.
Huh.
9 to 5, you're working. Afterwards, you're chilling. If you have a girlfriend or a family or a partner, it's even worse because you're like, well, I'd rather hang out with them than go meet this stranger. Uh, that's the average person. There's always going to be people who are in that mindset of it's always good to meet new people and always good to, network or just whatever, build relationships. But I find that it's very rare.
Mm.
What do you
Yeah.
think the right reasons are? What is the right reason to have?
Yeah, that was an interesting one because everyone has their own skill sets, right? And it's kind of weird because I don't pick friends. It's weird. I don't think, how can I say this? I don't reverse engineer the process of picking a friend.
Yeah, same. Yeah, yeah.
It's just off the bat. If we connect, and we go from there. Off of the humor, where does it go from there? It goes in business and in spirituality. It goes. That's throughout the years. It can go in that direction, but for the right reasons. I think I can say this as I get older, as I redefine and refine my friendship circle and understanding friends and where positions where they are in my life. I'm realizing that there's core beliefs that I have internally that I'm getting to know about myself as an individual and things that I value and I want to share. So, for example, family time. I truly invest. I want to invest time into raising a family, and that's important to me
Mhm.
for my own personal reasons. Growing up, that's why I will definitely going to be a family man for sure. But I think even with my friends, if a friend is not really a family man and he's upfront about it, and that's just who he is, that's totally fine. I have no problem with that. But then it just comes into that department where he's not a family man and I have a family one day, and not saying he has to take on responsibilities of my own family. That's for me to take care of. But I just have to find a friend that is a family man, and that's fine. That's why we have friends with different variations of different versions of each other. So I'll just have to find a friend or look into my phone, whatever, and just call up my friend that has who just had a family for the last 3 years, and then kind of like have that conversation and come together. So I think choosing your friends is obviously important, and also leading to the second part of it for the right reasons. I think that gets redefined as we get older.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Especially, well, it's probably because our needs and our wants change as we get older. So,
Yeah.
when we were younger, we wanted to have fun and go out, chase girls. So maybe we wanted to be around people who we could do that with. And like you said, being a family man, like you can't really be, if your friend is just focused on doing that and you're focused on building your family, that might not jive. It might not work well because what you did together no longer can be done, right? going to the bar, hunting girls, like whatever it was. Maybe you were friends, you were great friends with somebody because you played basketball with each other like every day or every week, and then you got a back injury, you can no longer play basketball. Like you just, what are you going to do, right? You really only were
Yeah.
friends with that person because you were playing basketball with them. You didn't really connect in what you did, you know, what you want out of life or other aspects of life that people become friends with people over. So I know that there's this concept of friendship, and it's almost like people expect friends to be forever, right?
Hmm.
You know, when we grow up, people say you should date around. You should go like get a girlfriend, whatever, date around, because typically in our culture, you're not gonna find your life partner the first person that you go on a date with, right?
Yeah.
Nor the second, whatever, for most people.
Yeah.
Um, so why do people think that making friends is any different? I don't understand why there is this concept of friendship should be for life when we don't have that same mentality towards anything else. We don't expect people to date somebody for life. We expect people to stay with their wife or husband for life. But even then, divorce is such a common thing nowadays that you don't even like staying with somebody for life is almost like not expected anymore.
Mm. Yeah,
Uh,
it's that narrative they sell to the public.
yeah,
It's kind of like love at first sight. That same narrative
God, I hate that.
that sells diamonds every year
Yeah,
around Christmas. Yeah, man.
Valentine's Day, Christmas,
Yeah,
all these artificial holidays just to get you to
yeah,
buy more things.
exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah, it's do you ever realize in a moment in your life where you had to choose your friends more wisely?
Absolutely. I think when I actually, you might actually you have a very good insight into this because you were part of my life at this point. But between high school and college, I didn't necessarily think I need to choose friends more wisely, but I what I did say to myself was I need to prioritize my life. So I stopped prioritizing having fun and hanging out with my friends, which is where you and I lost touch for a while. And I started prioritizing studying. So I would go to school and then I would study for 6 hours after school, and then I'd go home and I'd like sleep or talk to my girlfriend for like the hour before I sleep. And that was it. That was like my life. It was it was like that for 2 years where uh, I didn't really make friends outside of the people that I saw in my classes that I was studying with because that was my focus. Like I was studying, I wasn't going out. The odd time, I think we saw each other once or something in that gap. And we ran into each other when we were at a club. You remember that?
Wow, you ran into each
560?
other at the club.
Man, I remember I ran into you and the other two homies, part of the Musketeers,
Yeah.
and at 560. And it was just
Wow,
like it was a blast from the past. I was like, whoa, man. I
we were
haven't seen
still in
you
high
guys.
school though.
Were we, dude? No, 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 no.
Five sixty, really?
Yeah, I was in college. First of all, we couldn't
Wow.
have been in high school because 560, we were 19, we were over 19. But at that time, I think I had
Yeah,
just, I
true.
was, I,
Holy shit.
but yeah, it was probably a year into after high school where um, I was in college. I hadn't seen you guys for a while, but I think you guys were hanging out still regularly.
I
And
can't. It's coming back in. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so that's really the only time I could relate to that subject. But I
Mhm,
know
we,
in college and university, I had moments where some people wanted to be my friend, and I gave them a chance. I hung out with them. We had fun times, but then I started to see things that I didn't like, that I didn't want to associate myself with, that I knew could be trouble down the road. And I just stopped. Like I didn't even bother to uh, keep up the.
Indulge.
Yeah, I was just like, fuck it. I'm not gonna hang out. I'm busy, whatever. And then slowly they just stop. Hey, just reaching out to you.
Yeah, those things are yeah. If you're not aware of it, those things are so common. Drugs, alcohol, things that you don't want to get involved with. Those things are definitely pressures to be
Hmm.
around. And if anything else, any other devices or activities. But yeah, man, yeah. I think let's just leave it at like maybe one more point.
Yeah.
Playing a team sport, as 20 things a boy can do to become a man, playing a team sport, because that is a different concept, man. Because I realized quite early that when I was on the basketball team in grade 8, I realized how much ego played a role in everyone's individual life, even when it came into basketball, because everyone was so focused on themselves as the highlight, and the team wasn't really functioning correctly because everyone wanted to be the star. And
Mhm.
so as I kind of just realized that from my own experiences, and I saw it blankly, I saw it. It was so easy just to see. Everyone was just so egotistic about it. I realized playing a sport that is needed to be based on. I guess it can translate to any sport or team sport, but I noticed it within soccer where you have to pass the ball in order to, get past, the defense or get
Mhm.
past the
Mhm.
midfield or the forwards. You're gonna have to pass the ball regardless. So I realized with playing team sports within soccer, European say football, that passing is a part of it's part of the nature of the game to score a goal against your opposing team. So
Mhm.
you get into that communication of being open, being available to receive the ball, and then passing it forward or bringing it up the field a little bit. And I learned a lot about people through team sports. Some can be what motivates them. Some can be what their struggles are, what their strengths are, where they can improve, where I can improve, where I can position myself to become better. How can I make this team more, adaptable to change? These are things that I think of now, not only within sports, but within business or with a group of
Mhm.
people. So
Yeah.
playing a team sport for me, it opened my eyes to the possibilities and understandings of leadership. And that's something that I'm truly passionate about now, how to navigate a team to success. Because as a kid, I saw it be so destructive from when it started off and being centered around ego.
Okay.
And that was it. That was my point.
Wait. Okay.
Seminar
Building
done. Lights
seminar.
off. Lights off. Shut down. But there's more. No, but that's pretty much my. But that's pretty much my point, man. It was just my experience through seeing ego and seeing where that stemmed from, to understanding that team having a team environment and developing a team is more important than the individual person.
Mm. Having a team environment and developing a team is more important than the individual person. I'm trying to. I would like to think that, but I find that I don't really see that often in the real world.
Because it's not developed. I know where you're coming from, man. Because it hasn't been developed enough. And what I mean is, in the real world, I can translate this into the real world, and you've seen it all the time. We always pass those bad managers. We always pass bad management,
Mm.
and we all experience how they talk to us, how they talk to other people, how they talk to people around them, either that be above them or below them. It doesn't matter. But we've seen how they communicate, and we know what doesn't work. We know what doesn't work. and it's always been implemented as if it works. Why force someone? I'm gonna give you an example from my life. I was selling gym memberships at one point, and the process of that is essentially I make phone calls, I get them into the gym, they sign up. That's just how it works and how it goes.
Yeah.
But it gets to the point where when I need my time off, when I need my weekend off, and the manager is not addressing that situation or understanding that I put in my week or it's an important emergency and saying you have to work or you have to work that day or not being flexible with me as an employee, that's where problems do occur because you're talking to the number one salesperson of the team. And if you look into how I would do it if I was the manager, if someone comes to me and they're top salesperson, they need some time off. That's just how I am. I'll be more lenient towards that because number one, they sell a lot, they do a lot here for the company. At the same time, he just needs 3 hours for himself for his personal reasons. Don't need to get involved in it. I would find a way to navigate it instead of telling the person no right off the bat because we all experience that when they just say no, flat out no, can't happen. Why? No, that's just policy. But that's the reason why people don't feel like it's a team environment because no one's having a shared input. There's no exchanges of conversation.
There's
So
no there's no exchanges of okay.
exchanges of conversation, just like in soccer when you kick a ball over to your fellow teammate. There's no flow of conversation because once you kick the ball over to your manager is not there. Or he just puts his foot up and he lets the ball pass him. It has team environment to me is not just within sports. It's within finance. It's within hospitality. It's within hotel service. Hospitality is a hotel service. Healthcare. It's in any industry. It's all the same stuff. The whole thing is it's a team environment to me, and that's how I look at it. I look at life. I look at companies and people as team sports.
I guess I agree with you because pretty much everything in this world you need to have other people involved in order to do whatever it is. Like even if you're a solo, you're working solo, you're doing something for other people. So you're effectively a team where, let's say you're a baker and all you do is just make cookies at home and you sell it to people. You're still, your team is the customer that you're providing. You're passing the ball to them and they're continuing down the road doing what they're doing. But if they win, if they're successful, then they come back to you and buy more cookies and you're successful. So I see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Do you
Yo,
ever? Yeah.
I am getting quite tired now.
No
So
problem.
could we park this and then talk on when is the 19th?
Yeah, I think it's the 19th. I think it's the
Yes, I see.
19th.
Airbnb
Yeah,
and
man.
Uber. Okay.
Yeah, man. For sure. For sure.
I like this though.
Yeah.
This was a great like spiritual conversation. I forgot that we were on stereo, man.
And that's how it should naturally be, man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I honestly flip my phone over sometimes. I'm just like, I don't
Yeah.
care who's listening, but if someone wants to pop in, that's fine. But
Yeah.
that's where it's great to have that natural flow and just go about that.
I
But yeah,
agree.
man. Yeah. But yeah, man. We'll talk soon. No problem.
All right,
I'm
brother.
actually I'm actually resetting my life too. I'm going to bed early off of
I
you
like it.
actually because you
Okay.
said you're doing it. Now I'm realizing how I want to get back into that mode again too.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really
Yeah,
nice.
it's resetting. Nice reset.
All right, brother. Good luck, and I
All right,
will.
man.
I'll try. I'll talk to you soon.
For sure. All the best, man. We'll talk. All right.